is wonderful to be here with you all. And my name is Peter Halby. I'm director and founder of Zeno Mountain Farm, executive producer on Best Summer Ever, and I did a lot of the music in the show. And I danced on a car too in the movie.
My name is Isla Halby, and I'm also the co-founder and co-director of Zeno Mountain Farm with Peter, and the executive producer on Best Summer Ever, as well as the casting director for Best Summer Ever, as well as I played a pregnant camp chef.
Hi, my name is Aljani J. Murray. I'm an actor and a community member of Zeno, and I played Kevin in the movie. And I've been going to Zeno for about 11 years, going into my 12th year.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christine Bruno, and I am an actor, a teaching artist, and a disability equity consultant, specifically for the entertainment industry and arts and cultural organizations in the US and around the world. I'm based in New York City, and my involvement with Zeno Mountain Farm, this is actually my first involvement with Zeno Mountain Farm, was Best Summer Ever. I wore a couple of different hats. I am a member of SAG-AFTRA and elected board leader. SAG-AFTRA is our film and television entertainment union. And so I helped with the disability equity consulting on the film and getting the film to be a union film and using great union talent. And I also played Midge the mechanic. You might not have recognized me because I had dirt all over my face.
Well, she helped me jog my memory. I forgot to mention everything that I do. I'm also an actor, public speaker, and a consultant. I've done some consulting in the acting world, but also I do consulting concerning things disability. Right now, I'm a consultant. I work with big companies to help them make products accessible and adaptable.
At a very young age, Isla and I actually met at a camp for folks with disabilities when we were in our 20s, but we've been working in this place when we were in our teenagers, and I think we fell in love with disability culture and the creativity and beauty and just sort of can-do spirit that is in the disability world. And all our friends kind of were in this group of folks, and all our creative endeavors kind of were better when we had this inclusion. Almost like everything we ever tried was like, oh, it's better when we brought in folks with all different disabilities and together with folks in the quote unquote non-disabled world. So we just always loved the adventure, and it just kind of kept going and going until we bought a farm in Vermont and started running camps every month out of the year.
And as Pete said, just captivated by when there's this much creative problem solving and this much care that's being provided for each other in a community where there's disabled and non-disabled folks alike doing great projects and celebrating each other. It felt like there's more potential available, more potential life and energy available in that type of integration. And so it made everything better. It was more fun. I also pursued a professional career as an occupational therapist, but I kept leaving my occupational therapy jobs to work at our nonprofit. And my mom kept saying, you're quitting your job again and then because it was the most dynamic environment I'd ever been in, and everything, it's new every day, it's new every interaction. There's so much potential. So we just went full tilt into it and started the nonprofit in Vermont and continue to grow the relationships with AJ and Christine and do amazing art.
You feel a sense of belonging, a sense of community. You feel like, and I kind of felt like this. Certainly, my first summer there. But to be honest, I kind of felt like this, and I know this isn't everybody's experience, so I don't want to sound like too much hyperbole, but I felt I felt like I belonged. Like the first couple minutes I was there, I was like, I'm home. It's like this feeling came over my body, and that doesn't happen to me all the time. But I just felt home, and you feel like this is your community, and you're always gonna be a part of something.
It's a great vehicle to show the world the the talent and creativity that is in the disability world. And we've just found it's a great way of changing hearts and minds. You're able to really to show these films at film festivals and all over. And people leave with a different and greater perspective on I think humanity, if you will. So we love being a part of that.
I think we're a culture that really reflects and understands our humanity through film. We're a culture that loves movies, and it's so transportive, and we really can start to understand someone else's experience through film. And so the creative challenge of making a film, it's also like the hardest, most complex, most dynamic endeavor to do, and that's right up Zeno's alley. And again, to showcase the talents, to showcase the gifts, as part of our philosophy, that our art is more dynamic because of our community and the disability within our community and the diversity. And the best way to explain that is to kind of do it, is to have a teen musical that's chock full of people with all different disabilities and people and non-disabled people as well.
There's
Yeah,
something for everyone in making movies, which is really cool.
the cool thing that I may add from my perspective and being an actor and performer is one of the coolest things I always thought about making a movie, or whether you're doing theater, but especially in making a movie, like, it's really cool. Like, it involves so many people, but there's not a job on a movie set that's not important. And to me, it's really cool to just basically take a movie from a written idea, right? And as first is on paper, but then it involves all these actors, and you have choreography and people helping out on makeup and all the people on crew. That's one of the things that's appealing to me outside of getting able to build the character. But I think it goes perfectly with Zeno because, making a movie is you're kind of a family in a sense, at least for a short amount of time. So I think it aligns perfectly with what Dino's trying to do.
I also think film is the way in which we hold a mirror up to society.
Mhm.
And for so long, the films that we see that have disability representation have either been inaccurately represented by non-disabled folks playing disabled folks, or have storylines that are damaging and harmful to our community because they don't adequately or accurately represent the fact that disability is a community, it's a lived experience and a culture. And what I think what Zeno has done, both with Best Summer Ever and with their previous film Bulletproof and the documentary Becoming Bulletproof, is shown that disability is a lived experience and a culture, and it needs to be viewed through the lens of disabled folks. And for me, that's what's so exciting. And as AJ was mentioning, every component of film is a job, and so it's also showing the world that this can be a viable career path for disabled adults, and introducing disabled folks to a career path that was probably previously not open to them, or they thought was not open to them. So that's what's so exciting for me.
Yes, yeah.
But
Yeah.
what's really interesting too is that as far as making movies, like, you need people who can like go with the flow and can like be like, you know, like change on a dime, and like maybe then sometimes have to be really patient, and then, you know, then you have to like, I don't know, it's just full of like all these things that the disabled community is so good at, that it
Yeah,
is
that's
like
sort of like the design of our lives. I didn't mean to cut you off,
Try
Peter,
something in
but
a new way.
yeah, let's be creative here. Well, how do we do this? And
Yeah.
like that's
This
yeah.
setting's not going to work. Let's, you know, all that.
Mm.
And as Christine often always speaks about too, is that it's a viable, valuable part of the market that's unaccessed, you know, the
Mhm.
disabled folks for the job opportunities, but also for as viewers, as consumers, you know, there's such a big gap between, you know, 25% of the population has a disability and less than 2% of on-screen roles are disabled characters or disabled storylines,
Mhm.
you know, and we're just seeing the same old kind of stereotypical and harmful, as Christine said, storylines. So this really can help to bust that open. And when it can go to film festivals and it can be shared through Hulu, you know, we have a chance to blast that into the stratosphere in a new way. And that's also why I think film has just become our top medium, our most exciting and most dynamic project. When after one screening, I was speaking to a woman who came up to me and said, at the beginning of your film, so it's not a spoiler alert, when the lead character, Sage, Shannon, kissed Ricky, I actually felt really uncomfortable because I hadn't seen a woman with a disability kiss a man without a disability. And then over the course of the movie, in her words, she said, I forgot that she had a disability. But I think as we talked about it back and forth, it was that her disability became integrated into her character and her on screen and her performance and her strengths and her power and her journey as Sage in that movie. And I think that is what that moment, to have someone kind of describe their experience with ableism and their perceptions and what they've currently been marinating in and be fed from our mass media and our culture about disability. I got distracted. I got so into my story, but that is the moment, those kind of moments, those kind of conversations that are just happening. People are having an experience. It's not telling someone you should include people or people deserve to be in movies. You know, it is letting people have an experience with their bodies and their minds and their hearts that is causing a shift. And I think that's where we can really get into these places that we need to get into.
I think one of the things for me that I love so much, to just piggyback on what you just said, Isla, is that it also points out to me how much further we still have to go in terms of disability. Because if you think about the fact that Shannon is white and Ricky is black, and that person had no problem with that because society is now used to interracial couples and lots of intersectionality, but they are not used to disability. And I would venture to say that I don't want to put words in this person's mouth because I don't know this person, but I wonder if she would have had the same reaction if Ricky's character was also disabled.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a very different thing. So
very different.
Yeah. So I love that we're sort of breaking stereotypes and pointing out how much further we still have to go with disability just by the intentional casting and the gorgeous performances of Shannon and Ricky too, and everyone else in the film.
Exactly, Christine. Just to have someone say, I hadn't been comfortable with someone with a disability kissing someone. Think about how basic kissing is to a storyline, to a life, to a experience, you know. So I think it really highlights it. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, this is why it's so important for it to be seen, because I think on a very basic level, right, they were uncomfortable because it was just something they'd never seen before. Like over 50, 60 years ago, it would have been uncomfortable, certainly for a black man and a white woman kiss. I think about like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, or even Captain Kirk on Star Trek. There were so many letters coming into the and some markets, especially down south, didn't even show it because it's like it was so foreign and this wasn't seen before. But this kind of like just speaks to the point that this needs to be seen even more and more, because something even basic as kissing, the reason why it seems so awkward and strange is because it hasn't been seen. But you start to realize and learn as you see more of culture that's on screen. This is normal.
Normal in the disability world that you don't spend your life talking about your disability and what, you know, why you are in a wheelchair and stuff. And that is like so normal to us that people with disabilities don't, that's like, they don't talk, that's not a discussion point. But of course, in every movie you've ever seen with somebody with a disability, it's like, that's all they talk about.
Yes.
So it's very purposeful in the script that it was like, we never mention disability because that's what it's reality for folks with disabilities.
I think people kind of washes over them and they don't actually realize how subversive
Right.
subversive
Wait
it
a
is.
minute.
to
Right.
just-
Yeah.
And also this might be a little uncomfortable to talk about, but disabled people are often seen of as asexual, or so
Exactly.
it's, I mean, this
Yeah.
movie on so many levels is breaking stereotypes, is breaking barriers, is dismantling tropes. And so it's just, and I love that it just does it in a way that you almost don't even notice, because it's sort of not hammering it over the message over the head. It's just sort of washing
Exactly.
over you in
Subtle.
a really
Yeah.
pleasant way.
Yeah.
Catchy songs and yeah.
Catchy song.
Through
You
joy,
know,
also like all the joy that's present in disability culture and disability, and also to have, often you just have one person with a disability in a scene or in the movie. And so I think it really does, it's subversive, but it also like really dumps it over their head because there's just so many people with disabilities. You start to kind of lose track, and that it increases the creative potential exponentially when you have that many people with disabilities on a project.
I think we're just gonna bring up the point that the thing that's really so awesome and incredible about this movie, and I'm just so proud to be a part of, like I just consider myself so lucky, is because this is historic, you know. This is the largest film of people with disabilities. It's with and without disabilities, but this is the largest film with people with disabilities, but not only on camera, but behind the scenes, as well. And I think the last movie that had the largest, and it wasn't as big as our film. The last movie that had the largest number of people with disabilities, and that was just on camera, was in the early 30s. It was a movie called Freaks, and it was about this company of people with disabilities who were in this circus, and I believe they were trying to, overcome the evil circus master, and they overtook him. But that film. So this is very exciting that we have best summer ever, but sometimes it makes me sad at the same time because that film was almost 100 years ago, and we have best summer ever now, and we shot it like 4 years ago. But that, so at the same time, I'm very happy and very excited to be part of it, and I want every person to see this around the world. But then you look at it and you also say, man, it's awesome and incredible to do this, but did it take almost 100 years to get another film with an ensemble cast with people with disabilities?
I would want people to know, just like, I mean, I think people don't know how much work it takes to make a movie, and hopefully people watch the documentary and you get a sense of that. But it is we had a lot of fun, and that definitely carries you through. And it was a family, like AJ said, but it's also like it is work, and it does take every person
That's
to,
right. 12
to
hours.
do. Yeah, and we shot like those scenes deep in like till 4 a.m. And so I guess I want people to know, like, yeah, it was fun and it was campy, but it was also like work, and like movies are work, but it's all good.
And I think what most people would assume is that it's a lot of work because there's a lot of people with disabilities in the film. And that's actually not true. It's at all. As Christine said, it's the opposite. It's just the filmmaking, the grind of the filmmaking. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I guess I would just say to notice the relationships, notice all those places where you're seeing all those intersections, like we spoke about earlier between Ricky and Shannon, and Shannon and Nancy, and just, all those places where to just reflect on those relationships and all the levels that you're seeing there, from like the high school, just that typical storyline, to then take it a couple stages deeper. Any other good moments, AJ and Christine? What else are to notice? The songs too.
Yes.
I would say just like let yourself just open up your heart and let the songs just let them in. Like don't think too much. Really, just let yourself experience it.
Yeah, the music is incredible, but also I would just add to the point about, you may think it takes longer or it's a lot harder or more expensive with people with disabilities, because one of the things that I kind of marvel at in our film is that, okay, so a typical musical might take 9 months to a year to film, especially with choreography and stuff like, principal photography was 6 weeks. That's amazing and incredible. And we did it with all of our challenges that we had. And so I just want to say, wake up, Hollywood. How you like them apples? Because we did a feature film musical, which the average musical may take about 6 to 9 months to a year. We shot it in 6 weeks. It took a little while to get everything together and get it going, but we shot it in 6 weeks. And so I just want to take the time out to salute everybody that worked so hard, and Peter and Isla and the executive producers, because we did it.
Want to highlight the fact that some of the smaller roles in the film were played by actors who may not have a lot of experience. There were a lot of professional actors in the film, myself and AJ included, but obviously professional disabled actors, Shannon and Eileen Gruba, who played one of the moms. And I just, because I think still out there, although it is getting better, out there it still is the perception that their disabled people don't choose a career in acting. But there are lots of us out there trained and have been working for a long time. And I think that that's really important. It is a feature-length musical, right?
Yes.
So you need talent with a certain degree of experience and so I think that's really important. And one of the other things I think that, I'm sure I haven't read a lot about this in the film, which is interesting to me, that because I think, again, it's that sort of quietly subversive thing that, Sage has 2 moms and they grow pot. Those are, let's just throw those 2 subversive things into the mix, and again, they're just kind of part of the fabric of the piece, as opposed to being like a huge, So
Yeah.
I love that too.
It's just everyday. It's just everyday life. It's just part of life.
I think for me, my favorite acting moment as an actor in the film was my discovery of the lollipop. in one of the general stores, in Bristol, I was staying at a B&B on the main strip, and there are about 6 or 7 stores on the main strip, and I remember it was about 95 degrees in September, and I didn't have the right clothes, so I was looking for like a sundress or something, and I went into this little sort of general store that sold overalls and boots and hats and all sorts of things, and I just was walking around, and I bought some shoes, and I bought a little sundress, and I was standing at the register waiting to pay, and there was a bowl of lollipops, those small lollipops called Dum Dums, and I just took one and I
Yeah.
went, "Oh, oh yes, yes." I'm like, Midge would be like Kojak. Now I'm dating myself, right? And I was like,
Wallace.
I'm like, I see Midge as Kojak. She has an oral fixation, so there's always
Yeah.
something in her mouth. So that was
Except,
really fun. That was a fun discovery.
Right.
except you don't have the ball dome.
That's right. I don't have the ball go. And the other thing I think for me, which was so great, and I remember saying this in the doc, that because I've been doing this work for 25 plus years, I'm very often the only or one of a few disabled people on set or in the rehearsal room. And so I always feel like I have to educate. I'm always educating. I'm always
Yep.
explaining why I'm doing something or the way in which I need to do something or some kind of accommodation that needs to happen. It was just so beautiful to go to see and be like, just show up and be an actor and not have to apologize for what I need, explain what I need, advocate for what I needed. It everything was there and it was all understood. And if I said I needed something, it was taken care of. So I think those are the two things to make a difference, a lasting, sustainable difference.
Community, friendship.
Friendship, a sense of belonging, and honoring everybody's gifts. We need everybody's gifts. Everyone has gifts to bring, and everyone has talents to bring, and we need that. We can galvanize that potential when we come together.
I love people because if I love people, um, I love myself, and I'm I'm a better I'm a better human being in the human race. If I love all people, I love myself, and I'm educating myself, and I'm expanding myself. Um, that's it.